Well, I'm sorry about that, folks. We had a little technical difficulty. Welcome to Frankly Speaking. We are live on the air now, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street. I'm your host, Frank Akam. So you got a little bonus round of a past episode of Frankly Speaking. I'm not really sure what happened there. I'm hoping it's just a one-and-done glitch because we have so much to talk about. We now have the presidential ticket of Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance. So I will take the blame here. I thought it would be somebody that maybe we hadn't known was on the short list. That did not turn out to be the case. I would love to hear your opinion on the pick of J.D. Vance to be on the ticket. I thought there was a very good point from a viewer last night. With Vance as Trump's running mate, his sign makers only need to change 2 letters. That's true. But it is a good, as this viewer said, it'll look good on a sign. Centers nicely. Yes, if you saved your Trump-Pence signs, you can get ahead of the game and just change those first 2 letters and put them out now in preparation. Another comment from a viewer from after yesterday's program. Thanks for another great show. Well, thank you. Thank you for watching. We try to do our best here. Another comment. Those people who think that the attempted assassination was a hoax, how do they account for the people who died and the ones critically hurt? Also, the people at the rally stood tall as they did not panic. I thought that was extremely impressive where there wasn't a tragic stampede scenario. But yes, there is we talked about it a little bit yesterday. When you have the first assassination attempt on a president in the social media era, we knew things would get rough, and indeed they have with conspiracy theories. I see people calling for, of course, unity, calling for the rhetoric to be tamped down, though it seems as if President Biden maybe didn't get the message in his interview yesterday with Lester Holt. We're going to be talking about that. I don't know how much we'll be able to get to. The most important part, by the way, I forgot a couple waves. I was trying to get us back on the air. The most important part is I want to hear from you. Are you happy with the Vance pick? Are you disappointed? I know what the media is doing already is highlighting past comments that Vance made where he was not what you would call a Trump supporter or a big fan of Trump supporters. Just be prepared for that. I mean, there's nothing you can really do. The media's got to latch on to something. Now, the argument that Vance has made is that the gigantic, huge success of the Trump presidency changed his mind. He realized the error of his ways. So we will talk about Vance throughout the whole show. Hopefully we get an opportunity to talk about the classified documents case being thrown out. That was intriguing. Let me ask you this. I'm going to be asking this all morning. I'm not going to say I was critical. I just didn't understand why, and maybe you do, why you make the announcement, meaning President Trump, make the announcement about Vance yesterday. Because the news cycle was really focused on Trump surviving that assassination attempt. It was focused on the classified documents case going away and the focus on Biden and the decline of Biden. So I thought for sure the announcement would be as late as possible, not to change the news cycle. But that, in typical Trump fashion, always keeping us guessing, that was not the direction Trump wanted to take it. And so he has had quite a media weekend early week, hasn't he? So again, I pose a question to you. Happy? Confused? Disappointed? I don't know. What I'm not. None of those words describe me. I think Vance is a good pick. The more I learn about him, we knew quite a bit about him before, but the more I like him, I think many are calling him the heir apparent, meaning that he will be the future generation of MAGA. Do you agree with that? I love the image of Trump defiantly appearing yesterday at the first day of the Republican National Convention, and the photo with his ear wrapped in a bandage. Another, not as iconic of a picture as Saturday, don't get me wrong, but another, I think, a very iconic picture overall. He strolled into the convention floor with Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA. Lee Greenwood gets a lot of coverage when Trump's in the area. The former president pumped his fist, gave several thumbs up, and clapped as he joined his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, and members of his family seated near the stage. House Speaker Mike Johnson, Representative Byron Donalds, and former Fox News host Tucker Carlson were seated near Trump. The crowd started yelling, "Fight!" just as he had yelled after that assassination attempt in Butler. There were some very good speeches yesterday, wasn't there? Some different people. The one that many people are pointing to as kind of historic is the International Brotherhood of Teamsters Union President, Sean O'Brien, calling Trump, we'll just say, a tough son of a gun. How's that? Now, according to the New York Post, notably absent from Trump's section of the convention floor were his wife, Melania, eldest daughter, Ivanka, and youngest son, Barron. Now, I thought it was originally reported that Barron was going to attend at some point, but I'm not sure if that's the case because that might have changed. He was going to be a delegate, and that changed because of schooling, so maybe he will not be at the convention. Don Jr., and did you see Don Jr. in that interaction with MSNBC? We're going to talk about that in a little bit, too. We've got a lot to cover. Eric Trump, Tiffany Trump, they were all near their father. Now, Trump did not deliver any remarks. If you didn't stay up and watch yesterday, he did not deliver any remarks. But earlier in the day, he was officially named the Republican nominee for president after being nominated by more than 1,215 GOP delegates during a roll call vote of state delegations. I think Elise Stefanik, who was on the short list for VP, she's the one that led the New York delegation. As Miranda Devine says about I'm sorry, you're going to see me looking because I'm still not sure why we had that technical glitch this morning, so I'm hoping we do not have that problem again. If I do go to break, goes to screen black, please let me know. You see the number on the bottom of your screen. I'll keep looking myself, but it's a lot easier if you happen to notice it. Okay, Miranda Devine says Donald Trump invites the whole nation to the new America First Republican Party at the RNC 2024. So we're going to talk about that after our first break. Again, your thoughts on J.D. Vance. You may just be learning more about him. Quite an impressive resume, as you probably are aware by now. So at the end, I guess I considered him being picked because he had been named on that short list for so long, but I wasn't sure at the end of the day if he would be the pick. Youngest VP, which I think is a very good thing. Youngest VP pick since I think they said Nixon at the age of 39. So showing that clear contrast as we know that age has become such a major factor in the talking points regarding this election on both sides of the aisle. So we're going to talk about it, but I'd love to hear from you. Such a big news day. We're just getting started. By the way, just as a little bit of housekeeping, we do have a lot of special guests this week, which is a great thing. Also, time constraints because of how much news is happening makes it a little difficult. So I am moving that Terry McBride interview from McBride and the Ride till later this week. We are going to talk to our good friend Sylvia. You remember Sylvia from ASSE.com, the International Exchange Program? Well, she is back in town, and she's going to stop by the studio to say hi with Elisa. So that'll be later in the week. We also will learn more about the Gus Macker tournament coming to Corning this weekend. So we've got a busy week full of guests. Tim Marshall later in the week. So we've got a lot to cover. Well, yes. So let me know what you think. We'll read some comments when we come back. Also, were you surprised? Were you maybe disappointed? Maybe you had somebody you wanted to see on the ticket. Let me know. This is not a knock on J.D. Vance whatsoever. I cannot stress that enough. I'm just wondering what your opinion was when the news broke. I mean, I started hearing early on that the news was going to break, and you wait patiently. You watch the news, you wait patiently, and then when it finally broke, again, at one point, there was a poll that was released. Because remember, behind the scenes, VP candidates kind of running their own, I know backdoor sounds bad, but they run their own backdoor campaigns, trying to get the nod. So the big headline on Drudge yesterday was that Dr. Ben Carson was the lead when it comes to internal pollings, that he would do the best for the ticket. So at one point I thought it may be Carson, but that could have very well been a distraction, meaning that maybe Carson's people put it out. So at the end of the day, what's your thoughts? We're just getting started. We're just getting warmed up. Thank you so much for joining us here on Frankly Speaking. I apologize about the glitch when we first went on, but I think we're cooking now. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Brighten your smile this summer with Watkins Glen and Elmira Family Dentistry. With their summer teeth whitening special, you'll have a beautiful whitened smile without all the gimmicks and hundreds of wasted dollars. Their licensed dental professionals will apply the product for you in one of their beautiful and relaxing offices. Their materials are made in the USA and are prescription strength to provide an unbelievable result. Give them a call now to schedule your appointment.
Isn't most important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
The Oak Ridge Boys American-made farewell tour. Celebrating 50-plus years of touring. The legendary Oak Ridge Boys. August 1st, the Chemung County Fair. Reserve seats on sale now at ChemungCountyFair.com or the Fair box office. The Oak Ridge Boys American-made farewell tour.
All right, that was a different technical glitch. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, thank you for joining us. We're talking about the RNC. Hopefully we get to the classified documents case, but if we don't, I do want to mention what Congressman Nick Langworthy had to say about the dismissal of the Trump classified documents case. This is in case we don't get to talk about it in depth because we may not be able to. Oh, also, before I do that, let's go through some of the comments about Vance and the selection of J.D. Vance. Yes, J.D. Vance is a future president. He and Trump now on the same page to continue on if needed. Plus working class from the heartland. Another comment from a different viewer. Vance is young and can continue Trump's agenda. I wouldn't think he could be bought off later. Another comment. Oh, thank you for all the waves coming in, by the way. Absolutely delighted with Vance. Read his book. This is a guy who knows exactly what is wrong with America. And he is fearless and loyal. He was my personal top preference. Oh, interesting. But I felt Trump might be pressured into making a more conventional choice. If nothing else, it says that Trump is going to do his second term his way. That is a very good point. I think a lot of people suspected like a Burgum, something like that, that would be more of a, what's the term I want to look for? Maybe more acceptable to the Nikki Haley Republicans that we hear so much about. So I kind of assume that direction too. But how much does the assassination attempt on Saturday change maybe the calculus for who Trump picks? Meaning, like you said, he's going to do the second term his way. Maybe it's no longer the quote-unquote safe pick, which I don't always agree that picking someone more moderate is always a safe pick. I actually think Romney, McCain, those type of candidates will show you that the moderate pick does not prove to be successful. But what I'm saying is, did it make it so Trump can say, okay, I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to pick who I want. So we're going to be talking a lot about J.D. Vance this morning. But here quickly, just because I don't want to run out of time, Nick Langworthy, our congressman, issued the following statement after the classified documents case against the former president was dismissed. And I quote, the dismissal of the classified documents case against President Trump due to the unlawful appointment and funding of special counsel Jack Smith is a win for the rule of law in America and a step toward ending the partisan manipulation of our justice system. The use of lawfare against political opponents, especially during a major presidential election, undermines our democratic process. Restoring faith in our institutions means ensuring that justice is applied equally to all, regardless of last name or political affiliation. So thank you to Congressman Nick Langworthy. We may get an opportunity to talk a little bit about that, but probably not. So Miranda Devine says Donald Trump wore a big white bandage on his ear, on the ear that took an assassin's bullet just 48 hours earlier. And did you see that photo that you can actually see the bullet? They said it's a 1 in a million shot that this could ever happen, taking this photo this way, where you can see the bullet whizzing past. Remarkable. As he pointed to his injury, the crowd roared USA. When he pumped his fist, the echoes of his tragically foreshortened rally in Butler sent goosebumps through the party faithful. They erupted into his new iconic war cry, which is fight, as he took his seat in the VIP box next to J.D. Vance. 8 years ago, when Vance wrote the hit 26 memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, documenting his hard-scrabble life growing up in the Rust Belt, he was seen as the key to understanding Trump's appeal to a new working-class base. A rabid never-Trumper at the time, his remarkable road to Damascus conversion to MAGA hero is the theme Trump is embracing this week. The first night speaker embodied the invitation Trump is extending to prodigal sons and daughters across the country to join him in the new America First Republican Party he has forged. Democrats, independents, never-Trumpers, all are welcome into his big, hopeful tent. And if you're just joining us, this is Miranda Devine. I thought this was a very good piece. That's why I wanted to mention it to you. With the former president watching on, Amber Rose, a former Trump-deranged OnlyFans model, took the stage and declared her new love for him. Quote, I believed the left-wing propaganda that Donald Trump was racist. But after she, quote, looked into all things Donald Trump, she then realized these are my people. This is where I belong. And I put the red hat on too. The red hat. She kept calling it the red hat. If it hadn't been past Joe Biden's bedtime, the night would have had the self-described most pro-union president gnashing his teeth. In a stunning rebuke to President Biden in this historic speech by Sean O'Brien, the president of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters gave the keynote address on behalf of his 1.3 million members. Quote, something is wrong with this country, and we need to say it out loud, he said, imploring his friends on the Democratic side to embrace collaboration. Working people know our system is broken. There's a political caste system. Inflation is hurting working Americans. This has got to change. He didn't quite endorse Trump, but his mere presence was an ominous message to the Democrats. Another unionist and lifelong Democrat who took the stage before Trump's arrival was not as shy. Robert Bobby Bartels Jr., business manager at Steam Fitters Local 638A, announced he was voting for Trump in November. Now more than ever, we need a president who knows how to get things done. He cited the open borders that allows illegal immigrants to take American jobs and lower our wages, and violent crime pushing people out of our cities while Democrats do nothing. That's why the Union Democrats, along with many of my union members, will be voting for Trump this November so we can take back the country and build back the middle class. Who knows whether Trump's open door approach will lure enough Democrats and undecideds in November to give him the landslide election he craves, but he's giving it a red-hot go. The crowd responded by chanting, "We love Trump." So Miranda Devines, and I think it's a very good point. The same with Vance, who, again, you're going to hear a lot about it. I'm not telling tales out of school. Vance was not a Trump supporter originally. I mean, he's 39 years old. I mean, people can grow politically. So the open door Republican Party, meaning come along. You're a union Democrat. We like you here. We understand how bad the economy is. Oh, you didn't like me originally. You were never a Trumper. Come on. You're my VP now. So I guess the big tent, as the political pundits would always talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about the takeaways from various outlets. You know how they do that, the takeaways from the first night of the RNC. We are going to talk more about the attempted assassination of former President Trump later on in the program. We also have a few things here about the interview Biden gave with Lester Holt. Not really tamping down the anger. You know, people are saying we've got to unify after Saturday. We've got to be more level-headed in what we say. Not necessarily what happened during that interview, but there's some other takeaways from that as well. So yes, we are just getting started. Thanks for joining us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Hi, I'm Adam.
And I'm Aubrey.
For over 40 years, the Blaze Alexander family dealerships have been making car buying easy, affordable, with respect for your time.
And we do that by treating all of our customers like family.
By making sure you get the lowest rates, biggest discounts, and most for your trade.
By providing clean, comfortable, and convenient service.
By offering the largest selection of new and pre-owned vehicles every day. Visit a Blaze Alexander family dealership,
Where we're taking the deals
the other guys won't.
You rip and tear your old statements and bills, but thieves use this information to steal your identity. Don't be a victim. Get the ID Police, the new ink roller that encrypts all your old documents. So before you throw it out, just roll it on, and your information is gone, both on the front and through the back. Even if the paper is held up to the light, even your medical information is safe with the ID Police. So block it out before you throw it out. Order now and get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 and get free shipping too. This offer is not available on Amazon, so call or click now to get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 with free shipping. Order now.
Call 1-800-898-1002. That's 1-800-898-1002 or visit getidpolice.com. So call 1-800-898-1002. Order now.
It's a season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my number one goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
Welcome to Frankly Speaking, talking to the people that affect your life, that affect all of our day-to-day lives. This is something you're not going to get anywhere else. We've got a lot to offer. There'll be a lot of news, local, regional, national, really the things that affect you. And I think you'll be glad that you tuned in. So think of it as radio on TV. Frankly Speaking, live, 2 hours long, starting at 6 a.m. on WYDC TV Big Fox. This is Hit. And we are back. Broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you for joining us this morning. If you are just joining us, a couple questions being posed. You see the number on the bottom of your screen. Feel free to comment at any time. What is your thoughts on J.D. Vance being picked for vice president so far? The consensus from viewers seems to be that they are very happy and very pleased with J.D. Vance. That's great. I like what the one viewer said, and just to paraphrase, because I don't have it in front of me. But this is kind of Trump saying, I'm doing the second term my way. There could have been quote-unquote safer picks, but remember who tells us who the safe picks are. It's the same people that push Jeb Bush. Remember, Jeb Bush was the only way we can win the White House back in 2016. So sometimes the quote-unquote safer pick is not the safe pick whatsoever. I'd also ask, were you surprised, because I was, that Trump took away kind of the news cycle, which was focused on the assassination attempt, was focused on the classified document case being dismissed, focused on the decline of Biden, and kind of blew that out of the water and said, no, we're going to keep the news cycle the way I want it, which is now on Vance. Because I thought they'd wait until the very end of the week, as late as they possibly could, to announce Vance, because that will then change the media. Because the media doesn't want to have to cover the assassination attempt. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that as well. So some of the takeaways from the RNC's first day, according to CNN, I'm going to skip around because, as you know, of course, Vance being picked is a huge takeaway. But there was a couple of moments where people that were on the short list, or at least assumed to be on the short list for VP, got an opportunity to speak. And one, I hope you had an opportunity to see it. If not, highly recommend. And I will, in full disclosure, admit this is one of the people that I was maybe even rooting for to be VP, and that's Tim Scott. Now, maybe that's just my ego because I didn't interview him in the past, and that means I would have interviewed both the president and the vice president at one point. But South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, who drew a religious connection to Saturday's assassination attempt, one of the most powerful takeaways. This is what he said. Our God still saves. He still delivers. And he still sets free. Because on Saturday, the devil came to Pennsylvania holding a rifle. But an American lion got back up on his feet and he roared. I thought that was very powerful. They talk about the Teamsters and O'Brien's speech in here, saying the speech was a blaring red alarm for Biden, whose route to a second term is dependent on strong support from union workers in the blue wall states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Some other quick things. Did you see, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well, did you see Mitch McConnell not getting the warmest welcome at the Republican National Convention? Boos rang out when Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell took the mic with a Kentucky delegation. Did not receive a hero's welcome. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell booed at the RNC. Mentioned that Tim Scott giving that rousing speech. Highly recommend it if you have not seen it. I know maybe many of you, like myself, end up watching most of the convention the next day, kind of a day behind because of the time frame on it. I watched throughout the whole day, but then at a certain point, yes, I very much do have Biden's bedtime schedule. So staying up too late and getting in the thick of it becomes difficult sometimes. But Tim Scott is one that I'm glad to have watched after the fact, but definitely recommend it. Vivek Ramaswamy, who was also considered for a potential VP nod, said he's going to be, meaning J.D. Vance, an awesome VP. I think he's going to be not only a good policy voice, but his story is an American dream story. And I think that he will give inspiration to a lot of people. But he also wants policies that allow a lot of people to live the same dream he has. He's in politics for the right reasons. He's honest, and I just think he's a great choice. Outstanding. Now, I know we had some viewers that wanted to see Vivek Ramaswamy. Would you argue, I don't know if I'd make the argument, but that Vivek Ramaswamy and J.D. Vance are very similar in kind of the inspirational American dream story? Now, if you're not familiar with J.D. Vance, Vance enlisted in the Marine Corps and served in the Iraq War. He later graduated from Ohio State University and earned a law degree at Yale University. Vance, who lives in Cincinnati, moved to San Francisco after law school and worked as a principal in a venture capital firm owned by billionaire venture capitalist Peter Thiel. Before running for Senate, Vance grabbed national attention after Hillbilly Elegy, which tells his story of growing up in a struggling steel mill city and his roots in Appalachian, Kentucky, became a New York Times bestseller and was made into a Netflix movie. I'm guessing that'll probably see a ratings boost. There's also, and I'm going to go quick because we just have so much to talk about, but so many people talking about the historic nature of Teamsters President Sean M. O'Brien delivering that address to the convention yesterday. He said during the speech, "It's an honor to be the first Teamster in our 121-year history to address the Republican National Convention. I want to thank President Donald Trump for opening the RNC's doors to the Teamsters Union and inviting me to speak." He noted that heads exploded on the right and left when he was invited to speak at the convention. Anti-union groups demanded the president rescind his invitation. The left called me a traitor. This is precisely why it is so important for me to be here today. President Trump has the backbone to open the doors to this Republican convention, and that's unprecedented. No other nominee in the race would have invited the Teamsters into the arena. Now you can have whatever opinion you want, but one thing is clear. President Trump is a candidate who is not afraid of hearing from new, loud, and often critical voices. I think we can all agree, whether people like him or they don't like him, in light of what happened to him on Saturday, he has proven to be one tough, we'll say, son of a gun. As I mentioned, as I kind of hinted towards, we're going to tell you what happened with Donald Trump Jr. yesterday when confronted by MSNBC. We've got a lot to cover. I hope that we can get to everything. If at any point you want to weigh in on any of the major issues of the day, feel free, and I have no problem jumping around topics because that's just the kind of morning. It's going to be so much major news. That's why you've tuned into the right place to weed through all of it. Get down to the brass tacks. So thank you for joining us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
If you're looking for new tires, do you choose a chain that's owned by a corporation and only cares about their profit margins? A place who hasn't been in business very long? Or a locally owned tire store who's been around for over 5 decades? The choice is pretty obvious, right? Parmeter Automotive has been in business for over 50 years. You don't make it that long unless you take great care of your customers. Stop into Parmeter Automotive today and see why they've become a staple in our community. With 7 convenient locations, there's a Parmeter Automotive near you.
Your Pioneers are back at historic Dunfield Thursday, July 18th and Friday, July 19th. Thursday, July 18th, it's free Hilliard Thundersticks and a Dunkin' night. Friday, July 19th, it's our Military Appreciation Night and free team photos. Get your tickets early. Call 607-734-2690. Elmira Pioneers, a baseball tradition since 1888.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can hack your information without you even knowing. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash protected. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from stealing your info. It's ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. With the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to fit your additional cards and cash. Call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. Don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-654-6604. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-654-6604. Order now.
It's a new season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my number one goal.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
Alden and Missy face off in Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
I'm not feeling so good. Biohazard! Biohazard!
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at 6.
Our beautiful view of Marcus Street. I know we got hit by some bad storms yesterday. The sign in Centerway is down. How were you affected? Feel free to weigh on that as well, because we are local as well on this program. So Donald Trump Jr. did not pull any punches when MSNBC got confrontational with him. Did you hear about this? Donald Trump sparred with an MSNBC reporter during a heated interview at the convention. He was asked by reporter Jacob Soboroff. He was asked some questions. Trump Jr. first took exception when Soboroff asked him what a second term under Trump would look like and suggested he was a divisive figure in his first term in the Oval Office. Trump Jr. said, "I don't think he was a divisive figure at all. I think the media created divisiveness around him. They lied about Russia collusion. They said that he was a traitor. They went after him in every way possible. If the media actually starts being an honest broker, talking about the things that he did, the prosperity he brought, the peace deals that he signed around the world, rather than the disaster that we're living in right now, I think you do everyone in the country a big favor. So Soboroff then asked Trump Jr. if his father would attempt to separate migrant children from their parents after crossing the border. This is the questions that he felt necessary to ask after what happened on Saturday. That's when Trump Jr. wasn't having it anymore. He appeared to link the Obama administration to the same immigration tactic, leading Soboroff to cut in and say, you know, that they didn't do that, sir. That's when Trump Jr. buckled down and he said, it's MSDNC, which is the nickname, as you know, of MSNBC. It's MSDNC, so I expect nothing less from you clowns. Even today, even 48 hours later, you couldn't wait. You couldn't wait with your lies and with your nonsense. So get out of here. And he waved his hand. Yeah, listen, even with the Lester Holt interview yesterday with Biden, they can talk about, you know, calming the rhetoric and calming everything down, but then they say other things. You know, this idea that Biden was elected to bring unity to the country, I think that has shown not to be the case. Oh, by the way, did you see, just as a side note, former president, this is being reported by Politico, so take it with a grain of salt, but former President Donald Trump met yesterday morning in Milwaukee with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to discuss the possibility of Kennedy's endorsing Trump for president. Kennedy denied that he had plans to drop out of the race. Yes, Mr. Kennedy met with President Trump today to discuss national unity, and he hopes to meet with leaders of the Democrat Party as well. And no, he is not dropping out of the race. He is the only pro-environment, pro-choice, anti-war candidate who beats Donald Trump in head-to-head polls, as Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, Biden finally, I can't believe we've talked about this for this long, finally granted Secret Service protection to RFK Jr. We have been talking about this issue really since RFK Jr. Jumped in the race. And it was shocking to learn, especially after Saturday, that he was still being denied Secret Service protection with his history, with his background, denied Secret Service protection by the Biden administration. Biden finally dropped months of resistance and agreed to grant Secret Service protection to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. What is the argument that you can make to deny it to him? I mean, his polling numbers, granted, they're early double digits. The highest I think it ever got to was 15%. I could be wrong on that. I haven't checked recently. But he is out campaigning. We know about his history, his father, his uncle. What could be the justification for denying that request for so long? Mayorkas announced a move at the White House press briefing yesterday. In light of this weekend's events, the president has directed me to work with the Secret Service to provide protection to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, earlier in the day, President Trump had tweeted out or whatever, truthed out, that Kennedy should receive Secret Service protection, calling it, quote, the right thing to do. In light of what is going on in the world today, I believe it is imperative that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. receive Secret Service protection immediately, Trump wrote. Given the history of the Kennedy family, this is obviously the right thing to do. Yeah, I still don't understand the justification for denying this. Representatives Mike Lawler and Richie Torres announced Sunday that they plan to introduce bipartisan legislation that would provide, quote, enhanced Secret Service protection to Kennedy Jr., Trump, and President Biden. Anything less would be a disservice to our democracy, they said. Democrat Colorado Governor Jared Polis has also urged Biden to grant Kennedy's request. I encourage Biden to immediately provide Secret Service protection for Kennedy Jr. All right, enough on that. We're going to be talking more about J.D. Vance. Again, I posed the question, are you happy with the pick of J.D. Vance? Was there someone else you would have liked to see? Were you surprised by it? I know his name has been thrown around for quite some time, so it wasn't necessarily a surprise to me. I just didn't know. You know what we all kind of thought, being in typical Trump fashion. We thought, well, it could be anybody. But I guess Trump still did throw us off as he normally does, because what did he do? He announced it on Monday when we were told Wednesday. One of the news reports I was watching The reporter actually seemed upset. We were told Wednesday, because I think, like myself, in a way, you plan around your schedule to figure out when the announcement was going to be made. I did not expect, because I didn't think Trump would want to change the news cycle from what it has been. I did not expect it to be this early. But like I said, that's Trump. You never know. You just never know what to expect. Oh, getting so many waves in. Thank you. So again, posing the question, what is your thoughts? Also, were you surprised by the Monday announcement? And anything else you'd like to talk about? What we know about J.D. Vance, there's a lot of those pieces out. Now, luckily, if you watched the show, we talked about him in the past. I didn't know. I mean, I knew kind of what they're trying to tell us now, but I didn't have a ton of information. He's 39 years old. Have you? Oh, let me ask you a question. Have you read his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy? I know one viewer has said that the book was fantastic. I'd love to hear your opinion on it. He was born in Middletown, Ohio, and spent part of his childhood in Jackson, Kentucky, raised by his maternal grandparents as his mother struggled with drug addiction. After high school, he enlisted in the Marines and was deployed in Iraq, doing public affairs work. He later attended Ohio State University and Yale Law School. He worked for the conservative venture capitalist Peter Thiel before founding his own venture capital firm. Mr. Thiel donated millions of dollars to Vance's 2022 Senate campaign. This is coming from the New York Times. Hillbilly Elegy, the timing of his book, published the year that Mr. Trump was elected, helped raise his profile. He argued that a lack of personal agency was responsible for economic suffering, drug abuse, and other struggles in white working-class communities, and wrote of, quote, a willingness to blame everyone but yourself. Since aligning himself with Mr. Trump, he has turned his blame toward outside sources like offshoring and immigration. Now, one of the things they're going to continue to mention is, and there's no denying it, that he was very critical of Trump originally back in 2016, describing Trump as cultural heroin at one point and as a demagogue who was, quote, leading the white working class to a very dark place. He even proudly described himself at the time a never Trump guy. This is not to now take any kind of criticism at the now selected VP nominee. It's just be prepared for it. That is what the clips the media is going to be running with. The Biden campaign is going to be running with. So just be prepared for it. Now, as we have said over and over again, what his argument is that Trump was so successful he realized he was wrong. But just be prepared for it. Now we know he's a senator. He is not, this is one that they're going to run with as well. He is not committed to accepting the results of this year's election. Quote, if we have a free and fair election, I will accept the results, he said back in May. It's a caveat that many Republicans have used, leaving the door open to the notion of foul play and helping to sow doubt in advance. Okay. We're going to talk more about Vance when we come back. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
I'm Marianne Kurt. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Shell Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon. Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox.
Broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on historic Market Street in Corning. Thank you, as always, for joining us. We're asking the question of your thoughts on J.D. Vance. We can go through what we're learning about J.D., but Fox News put together an outline of the key reasons why Vance was the last man standing in what they call the Veep stakes. I couldn't be more excited that J.D. Vance is our vice presidential nominee, said Trump's 2024 Deputy Communications Director, Carolyn Sunshine. You know, President Trump, ever since he came down the escalator in 2015, said, "I'm here to fight for the forgotten men and women of America." You look at the RNC platform that our party just put out, that President Trump was intricately involved in drafting, and at the very top it says, "Dedicated to the forgotten men and women of America." J.D. Vance comes from a community of forgotten men and women. She explained that Vance, who came from the humble beginnings in Ohio, has lived the American dream. He has served his country in the Marine Corps. He enlisted in the Marine Corps right after the Twin Towers came down. He has, of course, realized, as many in that generation of global war on terror veterans have, that America shouldn't be in endless foreign wars that don't serve in its interest. He's completely aligned with President Trump's ambition to make this country wealthy, safe, and strong again. A lot of people in politics get up on their soapbox and pretend that they know what it's like to be somebody. You got Kamala Harris acting like she's from Oakland. They pretend like they know what it's like to come from somewhere. J.D. Vance actually does come from the forgotten men and women communities. He understands those problems and that suffering viscerally. And I think he's really going to be a tremendous asset to President Trump. He's an extraordinary American. He's a public servant. That's so important to remember. I mean, President Trump didn't get into politics for personal gain. President Trump has given to this country. He's fortunate to have a running mate like J.D. Vance, who is of the same ilk. Somebody who loves this country, who has given, who has sacrificed for this country. Now, Kamala Harris did congratulate J.D. Vance, hoping that the two can meet at the VP debate. Did you see yesterday, by the way, that Biden, during his interview with Lester Holt, said he's not going to do another debate with Trump until that September debate? But there is the proposed, anyway, vice presidential debate. I know I read yesterday that many people believe that J.D. Vance, because of the speeches that he gives and the way he can kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, just a great way he can give a speech that he should do very well against Harris at a debate. Vice President Harris reached out to Senator Vance and left a message to congratulate him on his selection, welcome him to the race, and express her hope that the two can meet in the vice presidential debate proposed by CBS News. In May, Trump accepted a vice presidential debate on behalf of his future running mate to be hosted on Fox News. However, the Biden campaign has only been willing to do the debate on CBS. Isn't it interesting how they continue to be able to control the rules of the debate? Now, last time it backfired on them. Bad. While no vice presidential debate has been confirmed yet, in the case that Vance and Harris do face off, it may be the vice president's worst case scenario. President Biden and former President Trump agreed to two presidential debates. The first was hosted by CNN, the second ABC. I think J.D. Vance would pose the greatest threat to Kamala Harris in some respects. I mean, he's an incredible debater. That was the term I was looking for. Incredible debater. Ashley Eintines said that's Harris's former communications director. Yes, Harris's former communications director. I think he has a quality that makes him seem palatable to that 1% to 2% that actually might vote or that is undecided, that will actually pay attention to the debates, because most people don't pay attention to the debates. Well, not last go around. This could pose a particular issue for the vice president, who has become known for word salads or rambling monologues that often find their way onto social media. One such clip, going viral on TikTok and other social media platforms, features Harris asking, "You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?" After laughing, she continues to say, "You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you." Harris has even been the subject of Saturday Night Live skits, which made fun of the habit. "It's a process I call speaking without thinking. It's not about the destination of the thought. It's about the journey and how many words you use to describe that journey. Anyway, it will be interesting to see J.D. Vance and a Harris debate. What are your thoughts on that? So again, would love to hear your opinion on J.D. Vance. As I mentioned, many people, CNN specifically here, Stephen Collinson, saying that Vance is really the heir apparent, the future of the MAGA movement, being just 39 years old, which is a very big benefit at a time when age has become such an issue in this presidential race. That is a very big bonus for J.D. Vance. But 39 years old, and the idea that Trump looking ahead to the movement that he has created, where it goes. That's the theory anyway. And again, love to hear from you. All right, let's take our last break of this hour, and then we'll wrap things up for hour number 1, going as quickly as ever. It's unbelievable. Stay with us.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
The Ridge Boys American-made farewell tour. Celebrating 50-plus years of touring. The legendary Oak Ridge Boys. August 1st, the Chemung County Fair. Reserve seats on sale now at ChemungCountyFair.com or the Fair box office. The Oak Ridge Boys American-made farewell tour.
Hour number 1 nearly in the books, and we have barely scratched the surface of everything in the news today. That's why I'm surprised. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm just surprised that Trump announced Vance as his VP yesterday, because there was so much going on in the news cycle. But who am I to say? A couple comments from viewers. Vance was a good pick. Roger Stone picked him overall. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Roger Stone still has Trump's ear. Do you think so? Oh, that's interesting. Vance brings youth and wisdom. Also, Vance being a former Marine and Yale grad doesn't hurt. No, that's for sure. He has a very, very impressive resume. That is clear. Now, Stephen Collinson, who obviously no fan of Trump, but said 2 days after surviving an assassination attempt, Trump picks his MAGA heir. Vance is the embodiment of the populist, nationalist, and blue-collar transformation of the old establishment Republican Party. That's why Trump, who never forgets the enthusiasm of his base, picked the Ohio senator as his vice presidential running mate and effectively named him as a political heir who is now the best positioned Republican to inherit the keys to the MAGA kingdom whenever Trump exits. Trump rarely comes across as someone preoccupied with posterity. He lives in the present. But the selection of Vance is a nod to his legacy and anoints a leader of the Make America Great Again movement who could be active long after its author has left the scene. Perhaps it's no coincidence that Trump chose an heir apparent a few days after surviving an assassination attempt, a horrific event that underscored the constitutional duty of vice presidents to secure the chain of power and assume the presidency themselves if the worst happens. The Ohio senator, who is only 39, injects a dash of youth into an election season dominated by 2 elderly men who have both been elected president. His selection caps a stunning political rise. He's been in the Senate for less than 2 years. And if Trump wins the election in November, a millennial will be a heartbeat away from the presidency. So the heir apparent is the thought. Now, many pundits that I don't believe have Trump's best interest at heart, don't get me wrong, but many people thought that it could be maybe a more moderate candidate, someone maybe a little bit different than J.D. Vance. So were you surprised? I'm not surprised that Trump didn't listen to the pundits at all. I think that's a great thing. I didn't know it would be Vance at the end of the day. I didn't know who it was going to be. So I'm glad so many people, at least in this audience, seem to be very happy with the pick. What is your thoughts as we wrap up this hour? We've got 1 hour left together, so please stay with us. We will be right back with hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking after this.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
Wow, you found it.
I did.
The History of Water Part 6? I've been dying to read this.
I know, honey.
I always wanted that book.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install one of our high-efficiency water softeners, we're thinking about hard water and limescale buildup, so you can just think about longer-lasting appliances and softer skin and hair. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
The Big Fox website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website.
Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. If you're just tuning in, we've covered so much. What are your thoughts on the selection of J.D. Vance and also the timing of that selection? With many people, myself included, thinking it would be as late as possible to change the news cycle. But Donald Trump does what Donald Trump wants to do. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Hopefully we get to President Biden's interview with Lester Holt and the Saturday attempted assassination of former President Trump. We also, let me just really quickly say this, and I don't want to completely change the subject. I just saw this morning, and it's one of those stories that's going to get buried because we have so much to talk about. But I'd love to hear your opinion on it. According to City and State New York, they ask who could run for New York governor in 2026. Now, I know this is not time sensitive. It just piqued my interest. Here are a couple names. Democrats, Letitia James. Andrew Cuomo, yes. Tom Suozzi. Richie Torres. And maybe some others like Alvin Bragg. Bill de Blasio. On the Republican side, Bruce Blakeman. Lee Zeldin. Mike Lawler with the possibility of a Steve McLaughlin. Mark Molinaro or Rob Astorino. Rob Astorino is always in that mix. Just something if you wanted to weigh in. Changing it up. So the New York Post editorial board, who I don't believe I think they wanted Burgum, if I'm not mistaken. Not that they really did an endorsement on the VP, but I think they suggested that Burgum was the best pick for Trump. But that's a little bit of that idea that we need a more moderate, and that doesn't always prove successful. I would point to Romney, McCain, etc. So they say it's a bold choice by Trump, but a risky choice. And if you are just joining us, we had a very good point by a viewer saying that this, and I'm paraphrasing, that this is Trump showing he's going to do things his way in the second term. Not listen to the pundits, not listen to people say, oh, this is the only way we can win. Trump, his gut reaction is normally right on what can lead to a win. But they say congratulations to Vance for winning the Apprentice Special to become GOP nominee Donald Trump's pick for VP. We respect Trump's choice. For all the doubts we expressed in our recent articles and wished the ticket every success in the campaigning ahead. So they must have been critical. I did not see that at the time. Trump's reason point to a calculation based on November's electoral battlegrounds. Quote, JD has had a very successful business career in technology and finance, and now during the campaign will be strongly focused on the people he fought so brilliantly for, the American workers and farmers in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Minnesota, and far beyond. In the past, Trump has noted correctly that Veep picks rarely make a big difference on Election Day. But he's also right that the Rust Belt, from Pennsylvania to Minnesota, now holds the central swing states. The Hillbilly Elegy author has championed the concerns of voters in those regions. Putting your people first, not old school Republican thinking, has been a Trump priority ever since he rode down that escalator. And that's such a good point. That it's not, because that's why I will say, if I'm being honest, Burgum scared me only because so many in the media were pushing for him. It was kind of the Nikki Haley aspect, which isn't fair. I mean, I like Nikki Haley, I like Burgum. But, when you have the media pushing somebody that hard, it does raise red flags. So in this case, Trump's same kind of mindset that it's time to pick who I think is going to be the best. Not that old school, we need a more moderate, or we need this, or we need that. He's going to pick who he wants to pick. Vance was a high-profile Trump doubter back in 2016, but he also explained why he changed. Trump's presidency was a clear success, especially for the working class. Case closed. Traditionally, the vice presidential candidate does the flame throwing. If Trump is going to ease up his rhetoric, Vance can fill in. Of the 3 shortlisted VP candidates, he is the most closely matched to carry Trump's ideological torch. But he's also probably the riskiest candidate too, given the previous doubts we expressed. He is a first-time a presidential campaign, and then the heavy burden that governing brings. But the thing is, okay, first-time senator. Wasn't Barack Obama a first-term senator? Just out of curiosity, but I'll continue. He and those around him may not be able to fend off the temptation to start a 2028 bid too early, potentially undermining Trump's agenda and authority, not to mention the former president's ego. Also of great concern, Vance has fallen into the arms of the isolationist movement within the modern GOP. Once in office and with the benefit of classified briefings, we hope he will reconsider his foreign policy positions, especially on Ukraine. Nevertheless, Vance has not just a compelling life story, but ample proof of grit. From his hillbilly roots to Yale Law to Silicon Valley, a widely praised bestseller, and the Senate. Not to mention Iraq service as a Marine. In a deeply divided nation, the presidential race could still be close, even after the past few history-making weeks that have seen Democrats dissolve, and Republicans unite. Trump picked a running mate who he believes won't falter and can be an asset all through his second term. We wish them the best. It's a tough team for Joe and Kamala, or whoever to be. That coming from the New York Post. We have a comment from a viewer. Biden called Vance a clone of Trump. Yeah, and I'm glad that the Trump administration or the Trump campaign is calling Biden out for this rhetoric, especially coming up off of what happened on Saturday. We're going to talk about that as well. Maybe we'll get right to it. But quickly, just what some of the talking heads had to say. Brit Hume on Fox News did not seem happy with this pick. You can see why Trump made the choice. Young, dynamic guy, very bright, dazzling, articulate. I'm sure he pictured him in a debate with Kamala Harris and having no trouble with the competition. On the other hand, if you are looking at this as someone who might be reluctant to vote for Trump and are looking for reassurance that everything would be okay if something happened to this old man, and we learned over the weekend it certainly can. We learned about what kind of shape a president can be in after a few years in office when we saw Joe Biden's condition. I'm not sure this is the reassuring choice. He is 39 years old. Yes, he is very smart. His inexperience is real. Don Jr. is wrong when he says experience is not important. It's very important, and he has very little of it. People are looking at him and saying, is this guy a plausible president? You could argue that he is, but also argue that he is not. Wasn't that one of the knocks they had on Trump originally back in 2016? He doesn't have that experience. Well, I think political experience, folks, doesn't always signal success, does not always signal that if you have that political... Well, look, for instance, Joe Biden. 50 plus years of political experience, and we see the shape we are now in as a country during his presidency. Van Jones, again, I guess no one gave the memo to some of these people about toning down the rhetoric. He said, after lengthy deliberation and thought and consideration, the tremendous talents of others, this is Trump, I'm sorry. Van Jones, after speaking after what Trump said, upon hearing the news, Van Jones argued on CNN that Vance being chosen matters because of, quote, what he means for a Republican Party long term. This is cementing a kind of nationalism. Jones said that while Trump represents an instinctive, impulsive, intuitive nationalism, J.D. Vance is an ideological nationalist. That's a much more dangerous virus because he can polish this stuff and make it seem palatable to people. He can sell this stuff to Silicon Valley. He can sell this stuff to other places. What it does is it locks the Republican Party on a pathway that I think is dangerous for the world. Again, the Ukrainians are now in deep trouble. NATO is now in deep trouble. You could have gone with Nikki Haley and signaled to the world, hey, listen, I got to give stuff to my base, but I'm not going to abandon the world. This pick is a horror on the world stage. This is why they don't understand. They just don't understand the movement. So J.D. Vance matters because Donald Trump is pointing the Republican Party in a very scary direction for the long term. So again, not getting the memo about toning down the rhetoric, using terms like a virus, dangerous, a horror on the world stage, scary direction, boy. But again, they don't understand why, especially to the forgotten men and women of the Rust Belt in this specific case, they don't understand why that, oh no, the world is scared, doesn't really play. They don't understand why that does not matter the way they think it does. And also not getting the memo about toning down the rhetoric. President Joe Biden. The campaign claims that Trump picked Vance because he's okay with breaking the law. This comes off the heels of the president pledging to lower the temperature. Donald Trump picked J.D. Vance as his running mate because Vance will do what Mike Pence wouldn't on January 6th. Bend over backwards to enable Trump and his extreme MAGA agenda, even if it means breaking the law and no matter the harm to the American people. So they're just not even going to fake toning down the rhetoric. After, like when these articles came out, like Don Jr. said, less than 48 hours after an assassination attempt on the former president of the United States, and they're not toning down the rhetoric. Biden did the same thing during his interview with Lester Holt. There's many other statements. We could go through all this. Dillon, the campaign spokesperson who said all this, blasted Vance for supporting abortion restrictions and upper income tax cuts. Vance has a reputation as one of the most far-right extremists in Washington, endorsing a January 6th rally member for Congress and calling Marjorie Taylor Greene, who traffics in anti-Semitism and division, a friend. Wow, if I were of the Biden campaign, I would not be highlighting the party that pushes anti-Semitism. Do you really want to have that debate? I would maybe not mention that term. The statement appeared despite Biden dedicating a rare Oval Office address on Sunday, calling for political calm and civility. Sounds like that lasted less than 24 hours. President Biden has dismissed Vance as a clone of Trump on the issues. We're going to talk more about this. When we come back, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Sorry, I got so many comments coming in. We'll try to get to as many as we possibly can. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
It's time to stock up on your your favorite New York wines at GCP Discount Liquors and Wines in Horseheads. GCP Discount Liquors and Wines has the largest selection of Finger Lakes wines in the Southern Tier, all under one roof. Whether you're looking for Lakewood, Wagner, Wise, or Haslett 1852 Vineyards, GCP Discount Liquors and Wines is your convenient one-stop shop for these great wineries and more, all at the area's lowest prices. Shop GCP Discount Liquors and Wines in Horseheads, the best in service, selection, and price.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast and so convenient. It's like the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires on a single charge. It has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system for the factory direct price of just $79.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free, and we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-977-4997. That's 1-800-977-4997, or go to Get Bullseye Pro.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. As I mentioned, we do not have a Steuben Senior Services Fund section of the program this morning. No interview. We do have a lot of interviews coming up in the rest of the week. I've moved a few around that were pre-recorded only because there's so much to talk about and so much going on that I don't want to rush those interviews and try to sandwich them in. But they will be coming up, such as Terry McBride from McBride and The Ride. A couple comments from viewers. When asked his opinion on Vance, Biden was rather flat on his response. Thank you. Another comment from a viewer: know your point before you start speaking. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Was that on Kamala Harris that we were talking about earlier, or is that on me? I think I know my points before I start speaking. You might not agree with the points, but I normally know my point before I start speaking. Next comment. I don't believe that Trump was too worried about the timing of his VP selection. He knows that the media has a 5-minute attention span and would go back to their Trump is a liar and threat to democracy rhetoric, regardless of anything that he says or does. If Trump rescued Biden from a burning building, he'd still be called a liar. J.D. Vance is a great pick. Anyone that can get the media spun up is a great pick. I like that. That's a good point. Anybody that can get the media all worked up into a tizzy, that's normally a very good sign. I would agree with that. And I understand what you're saying about the timing of his VP. I'm looking at it from just the media perspective, which I don't disagree has a 5-minute attention span. It's just there was nothing but really momentum for Trump when it came to news cycles coming to Monday. So I was just saying it was, and it was positive. You know, it wasn't the attacks like normal, because the media was focusing on the assassination attempt. They were focusing on the interview with Lester Holt by Biden and some of the gaffes made during his address to the nation. So this I'm just saying it wasn't necessary. It could have been Thursday and you would have got that whole week of coverage. But I understand what your point is. I just maybe focus sometimes too much on the media because it is my business. Next up, don't think the Dems even listen to their own words half the time. They say they want to soften the narrative. Then in the very next sentence, they go on the same attack words. To your point, viewer, you could not be more right. This coming from Fox News. The Biden campaign posted on Twitter, X, with a fundraising link after J.D. Vance was announced. Quote, here's the deal about J.D. Vance. He talks a big game about working people, but now he and Trump want to raise taxes on middle-class families while pushing more tax cuts for the rich. Now, again, we've heard from this lady quite a few times this morning. Carolyn Sunshine, the deputy communications director for the Trump campaign, said, I think that response, given the events that have transpired in this country where President Trump had an assassination attempt on his life, for the sitting U.S. president to be calling for anything other than unity, but instead using this opportunity to attack President Trump's new vice presidential nominee, go after him on policy, it seems really out of touch, really in poor taste. It's very clear that Joe Biden is not the person who can unify this country, as evidenced by that statement. Conservatives on social media, including Trump advisor Stephen Miller, criticized Biden for the way the campaign is going after J.D. Vance. The staffers at Biden headquarters are continuing to use wildly inflammatory rhetoric less than 2 days since an assassination nearly killed President Trump. Will no one succeed in getting them to tamp down their rhetoric? Now, Biden did give, and feel free to weigh in about Vance. I know, this is a good point by Ken. It doesn't really make a big positive impact. I'll read the whole comment here in just a second. Yeah, the VP pick doesn't really normally mean a lot. I think this year they've hyped it up more only because of the struggles that we've seen with the Biden campaign, and also this idea, this narrative that the media pushes. So I am not, you know my thought on this. I don't subscribe to this point of view, but the idea that there's Nikki Haley voters that won't vote for Trump unless there was somebody palatable to them to be the VP. I don't agree with that. I think, especially after Saturday's assassination attempt against a former president, I don't think these staunch Haley supporters aren't going to vote for Trump. If they aren't going to vote for Trump, they were never going to vote for Trump anyway. They were going to vote for Biden the whole time, over Nikki Haley as well. But I'll continue. This is what Ken had to say. I think the VP pick doesn't make a positive impact on the election, but can be twisted into a negative impact by the legacy media. Vance will be portrayed as a white, MAGA, racist, immigrant-hating, misogynistic clone of Trump. It's going to be a big hill to climb when going up against Michelle and her VP, who will check off many boxes. Thank you, Ken. Subscribe. Now, I read something that's kind of interesting because, you know, it's died down, the conversation about Biden going away. There was a piece yesterday we didn't get a chance to get to saying that Democrats have almost accepted the fact that it's going to be Biden, that he's not going to back out. Let me pick your brain on this. I know there's an AOC is really mad about this. I'm going to go on a tangent here. But there's been some insider Democrats or senior staff Democrats who have said after Saturday, the election's over. There's no way we're going to win. Trump's got this. End of story. She's really mad because she doesn't believe it. But I've heard quite a few pieces that are going in that direction, suggesting it's over. So if you subscribe to that belief that the election is over, especially after Saturday, it's just a formality at this point and Trump's going to win. If you subscribe to that and you're a Democrat, like these are anonymously senior Democrats saying this to certain news outlets. If you believe that, wouldn't you want Biden to continue to run? Meaning, if you put in a Gavin Newsom, let's say, you put in Whitmer, whoever, Harris, and they lose, if you believe it's that far gone, and they lose, that just hurts their chances 4 years from now, 8 years from now. So is that maybe why we're starting to see some more silence when it comes to calls for Biden to step down? Or to our one viewer's point, is it just because the media and the American public very often, the attention span is only a few days? Maybe the newsworthiness of the debate is starting, not newsworthiness. The debate and the performance is being forgotten, not in the sense of how bad it was, just that, you know, other things have happened since. It's been a historic, let's just say, month that we just witnessed. So maybe, I don't know. That to me is kind of a fascinating point in all of this, that it's been more quiet about Biden stepping down, and some articles suggesting, again, that Democrats have just accepted the fact that he's staying in. Do you subscribe to that? AOC does not. But do you subscribe to that? All right, we got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
Hi, I'm Sam. Welcome to Pangea Global Tea House.
Pangea Global Tea House offers comfort foods of the world. Over 50 teas, a sampling of cuisine from over 10 countries. Globally inspired cuisine and striving to give you an ultimate experience. Come in and try the frankly delicious Turkey Club special for just $20, including your beverage of choice. Pangea Global Tea House, yet a really good tea house bringing you the flavors of the world, offering something for everyone.
Oak Boys American-made farewell tour. Celebrating 50-plus years of touring. The legendary Oak Ridge Boys. August 1st, the Chemung County Fair. Reserve seats on sale now at ChemungCountyFair.com or the Fair box office. The Oak Ridge Boys American-made farewell tour.
Back broadcasting live from the Hasselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on Frankly Speaking. I'm your host, Frank Hakem. Comment from a viewer. I saw on Trump's face a more presidential look. It may have toned him down after the attempted assassination. The bandage, that was a powerful image yesterday. The bandage on the ear, wasn't it? Very powerful image. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you can disagree with me. I feel that there has been more of a presidential feel about Trump since the debate. Because if you recall during the debate, I don't know about you, but one of the things I was concerned while I was watching is if Trump were to go after Biden and end up leaving Biden with empathy from the American voter saying, well, there's Trump picking on grandpa. But he didn't. He was very restrained, very disciplined. And in that time, since the debate, since Saturday, he has been... Well, I mean, from the debate to Saturday, very disciplined, very not getting the media attention that he normally does, just letting kind of the Biden campaign, we'll say, work things out and how that was going to go. And then, of course, the assassination attempt to this viewer's comment, that adds maybe a more seriousness to him. And that was my thought early in the show. Do you think that may have played into J.D. Vance's pick, meaning that Trump isn't going to listen to the quote-unquote experts and the pundits who say, well, maybe a more moderate person would be better off. He's going to say, I'm going to do things the way I want to do them in this second term. Now, Biden repeatedly snapped at Lester Holt. They really don't like, when I say they, Democrats, we talked about this with former Congressman Joe Semplinsky, and I've had this I don't know if you want to say theory, but I've said this for a very, very long time, that Democrats could never handle being Republican for even 10 minutes when it comes to media scrutiny. They just couldn't handle it. And we see that. That's why Nancy Pelosi suggested that Katie Turry from MSNBC was a Trump plant because she had the audacity to ask a follow-up question about the border. So Biden seems to have that same mindset. How dare you ask me a fair question? Because it is supposed to be softball questions. It's supposed to be, what are you doing for your summer? What books are you reading? What songs do you have on? Remember, they used to ask Obama those a lot. Books and summer song lists. And, what's your favorite ice cream? Biden repeatedly scolded Lester Holt in an interview yesterday. What's with you guys? Come on, man. What's with you guys? Come on, man. As he defended his criticism of Trump, despite calling on Americans to lower the temperature. Are you seeing what viewers say, which was moments of, frankly, what appeared to be, you appear to be confused? Lester Holt asked Biden in regards to the debate. Lester, look, why don't you guys ever talk about the 28 lies Trump told? Where are you on this? Why don't the press ever talk about that? 28 times it confirmed he lied in that debate. Hold on. We are now supposed to believe that the media doesn't talk about Trump lying. We're supposed to believe that Trump has gotten it easy from the media. The only reason they were critical of Biden is because he forced their hands. There's no way they could deny this any longer. But he continued going after Lester Holt. Seriously, you won't answer the question, but why didn't the press talk about all the lies he told? I haven't heard anything about that. Well, let's say, because we've talked about the media taking Trump literally and not figuratively. And so let's say they come out and say, oh, this is a lie, this is a lie. How do you fact check Biden on a sentence where he ends up by saying we beat Medicaid? I mean, I don't understand. Yeah, you can't really fact check when it's incoherent, the sentences. But that's what excuses he's using now is, why don't you ever talk about Trump? Yeah, media, why don't you ever talk about Trump lying? Boy, only if you would have got that memo. When Holt protested, we have reported many of the issues. That's when Biden snapped and said, no, you haven't. No, you haven't. God love you. Biden raised the fact that J.D. Vance, an Ohio Republican senator, had criticized Trump in 2016. And be prepared, that's going to be one of the common talking points. Holt said, well, he said something about you, meaning Vance had talked about you too, Biden. He said some things about me, but see what he said about Trump. What's up with you guys? Come on, man. Yeah, well, you're not supposed to ask follow-up questions. You're not supposed to ask tough questions. At one point in the interview, Holt challenged the president when he launched into an extended criticism of Trump, despite having that Oval Office address where he called for lowering the temperature. Lester Holt, to his credit, said, this doesn't sound like you're turning down the heat, though. The president said, well, no. Look, what I'm turning down, we have to stop the whole notion that there are certain things that are contrary to our democracy that we're for. The idea of saying that I didn't win the election when every court in the land, including the conservative Supreme Court, said we won. The idea of having a loyalty pledge from all of the folks, and then he just trailed off. Biden grew flustered yet again when Holt pressed him on whether he would agree to an extra debate. That was another point, and I mentioned earlier that he would not. Is there a sense of wanting to get back on the horse, Holt said? I'm on the horse. Where have you been, Biden rebuked. That's a weird way of putting it. I've done 22 major events. I'm on the horse. What I'm doing is going out and demonstrating to the American people that I'm in command of my faculties. Ew. I don't know if that's what you want to say. That's probably not where you want your campaign to be, that's a sentence that you had to use. Asked if he had discussed his political future with Obama, he said, I may have, I don't think so. Oof. The idea that I'm the old guy, I'm old. But I'm only 3 years older than Trump, number one. And number two, my mental acuity has been pretty, we'll say darn good. Sometimes come and talk to me about what we should be talking about, okay? The issues. He signed off. Oh, he was mad at Lester Holt. Imagine that. That's what I'm saying. This would have been a cakewalk interview for Trump compared to questions he normally receives. Holt said, and Holt can't be happy about this. Lester Holt doesn't want to be the one that gets a reputation of being forceful with President Biden. Biden appeared to defend, saying that Democrats should put Donald Trump in a bullseye less than a week before the former president was shot. Think of how things have changed. Remember when there was an assassination attempt against who was it? I can't remember, but they blamed it on Sarah Palin because there was some website where she had a bullseye. So he did say maybe that was wrong. Republicans have slammed Biden for his rhetoric, as you know. Saying that Trump would regain power over my dead body, tweeting that Trump was a dictator just as early as Friday. Biden also said the Vance pick was not unusual. If you go back and listen to the things that J.D. Vance said about Trump, So anyway, that's a quick look at the Lester Holt interview. Did you watch it? CNN, how am I doing on time? CNN put together the takeaways. Biden says he's grateful that Trump's okay, but points to Trump's rhetoric as driving the temperature higher. So somehow, this is what we talked about extensively yesterday, the victim blaming, that it's somehow Trump and MAGA Republicans that caused that. I don't know. His rhetoric made that deranged shooter make that decision. That's a bridge too far. I think that's disgraceful. Biden declines to speculate on how Trump's shooting will affect the election. I told him how concerned I was and wanted to make sure I knew how he was actually doing when he called Trump. Trump sounded good on the call. He said he was fine, and he thanked me for calling him. I told him he was literally in the prayers of Jill and me, and his whole family was weathering this. President defends his rhetoric, but concedes bullseye comment was a mistake. So that was the time that it was a mistake. It was a mistake to use the word. I meant focus on him, focus on what he's doing, focus on his policies, focus on the number of lies he told at the debate. Boy, that's what he's really hung up on, huh? Biden says he feels safe with the Secret Service after Trump assassination attempt. And then he said J.D. Vance is no surprise as the pick. All right, we got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, a lot of comments coming in. We'll try to get to as many as we can. Stay with us.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Oh, water tasting is better for the planet?
That's great, sir. Can I take your order?
Oh, number 3.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install our drinking water and softening systems, we're thinking about filtering contaminants and the minerals that make water hard. So you can just think about softer, cleaner, better tasting water. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now and get this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers, from a leading financial firm on maximizing your income in retirement. This book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms that can help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. And if you call right now, as a bonus, we'll throw in a free annuity rate report. We've researched over 1,200 annuities summarizing the rates and benefits for you. So don't miss out on this opportunity because supplies are limited. Call now and find out how you can get up to 33% more income in your retirement, and you'll receive Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and the Annuity Rate Report as an added bonus. Both books are yours free, just for calling Annuity General today.
Call 800-354-5972. That's 800-354-5972. Again, 800-354-5972.
Broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on historic Market Street. I'm your host, Frank Acom. So many comments coming in. First off, Frank, I admire the way that you handle those that seem to be agitators that you've been getting lately. You're a gentleman. Well, thank you so much. It's not that difficult. It's fine. I love hearing from everybody. I like the ones that are more specific on why they disagree with me rather than generalities, but that's okay. We just appreciate you watching and keep the comments coming in. Next comment from a different viewer. Really? Why don't you pick on Trump, man? Biden is so used to being the media darling, it throws him off whatever is left of his game. Yeah, it is remarkable. It's the same reason when Pelosi got mad. They're not used to having any type of pushback from the media. This was supposed to be kid gloves. So, and remember, he hasn't been doing that many interviews and press conferences. So you get a little bit out of the game, too, on something like that. Or whatever's left of his game, like you said. But they are not supposed to follow up. They aren't supposed to ask the tough questions. They're supposed to be kind of loaded. That goes to show you why you can still tell the media wants Biden to drop out, because they would not be asking him questions like this if they thought he was going to be the nominee. Lester Holt would have been much easier on him. I'm glad to see Biden getting a taste of his own rhetoric. Yeah, it's not very often you see the media ask questions like that. I know it sometimes. Don't get used to it. I'll put it that way, but it is interesting to watch. Another comment from Ken. I thought it's interesting that during the RNC's open speaker section of the convention, they let the president of the Teamsters do such a long, angry speech. While I'm a good union man and do agree with the concept that the unions have been responsible for elevating all workers' wages and conditions, I thought his speech came across as preachy and inappropriate for the venue. On a side note, during the past 40 years, I have been in contact with literally hundreds of union tradesmen, and while management is mostly talk like Democrats, they and 99% of the tradesmen have Republican values and vote Republican. Thank you. I thought that was an interesting point. I think really it was a historic nature of the speech, meaning Trump going for the union voters and having the president of the Teamsters actually willing to give the speech at the RNC. I think that's really more what it was about, because I would say it's gotten a lot of attention, and some, like you said, not positive attention necessarily, but some very positive for the historic nature of it. So it was an interesting choice. Oh, by the way, just speaking of interesting choices, the way I understand it is tonight Nikki Haley gives her speech. That'll be interesting. It sounds as if she's going to be calling for unity. That is what is being speculated. Biden refuses to debate Trump before September showdown, insists he's on the horse. What a weird... But yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Well, I'm not going to make another prediction that he's not going to do September either. I never thought he'd do the first one, and I know I was wrong, and I ate crow. I was wrong. I never thought there would be that first debate. There was a first debate, but at the end of the day, I was still right, because he shouldn't have done the debate. That's how you spin it. Biden... According to Rich Lowry, Biden has followed Obama's vilification playbook, and now he's stuck with overheated rhetoric. The White House is now faced with a conundrum: how to make the case against Donald Trump as a quasi-Nazi while lowering the proverbial temperature after his near assassination. Joe Biden's Oval Office address calling for toning down the overheated rhetoric was fine as far as it went, except it included no mea culpas, no assurance that he'll try to do better himself, no recognition that his political and media allies have been the worst offenders. Yeah, as a matter of fact, if you look at it, he was insinuating or blaming Trump and Trump supporters for causing this heated rhetoric. Over-the-top attacks on Trump have been incidental to the Democrat 2024 campaign, but central to it. If Biden himself has been careful and responsible in his criticism of Trump and Republicans, he would have been rendered practically mute the last few years. Several years ago, he called the push for enhanced voter ID laws and the like in Republican states, quote, the most serious test of our democracy since the Civil War, and characterized it as a 21st century Jim Crow assault on voting rights. When voting reforms actually didn't end American democracy, he didn't go back and correct the record. The focus, of course, has been Trump. And I'm not going to go through all this. It's by Rich Lowry at the New York Post. I'd highly recommend it. Biden, though, is less talented and less popular than Obama, and now has seen his opponent come within an inch of getting murdered at one of his political rallies, generating a wave of sympathy for him and of shock at how he got to this place. Maybe Democrats could say they disagree with Trump's policies and hate what he did after the 2020 election without invoking Hitler, fascism, or any number of other boogeymen that are false and inflammatory. If so, There's a first time for everything. I thought that was a great piece by Rich Lowry. How are we doing on time? We've got a couple minutes here. I know this is where I'm going to start to move fast. I want to talk a little bit about the assassination attempt. I know we only got about 15 minutes left here. There's also about the campaign in general, which I know sometimes isn't coming up that much, but the idea that the new calculus, and this is coming from the New York Times, new calculus for Democrats and donors, is Trump unbeatable? I think that could be a little bit of a never mind what's going on, but no, I don't think. I mean, there's a long way, as to that one viewer's point. People have short attention spans. There's a long way till November. I think that iconic photo is going to play into it very much so. But anyway, I don't want to get on that quite yet. Donald Trump's assassination attempt. This is how weird we are and how weird things have gotten. Memorabilia hits eBay as the Butler rally parking pass scores hundreds of dollars. A parking pass from the Donald Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, where the former president was shot, has sold for hundreds of dollars on eBay. The green special guest parking pass reeled in $385 on Monday. Wow. Others are trying to cash in on the assassination attempt, selling trading cards, shirts, photos, and other items with Trump's likeness. Prices are ranging from $5 for cards, $20 for shirts. You know, one thing I wanted to mention about, and I was kind of apprehensive about bringing this up, but I'm going to bring it up anyway, just to show you how divided we are as a country. I was at the gas station yesterday after the show. And the New York Post had, you know, a photo of the assassination attempt, and I don't remember what the exact headline was, but it was right there. And I didn't know the person ahead of me in line, but the person ahead of me in line asked the cashier, was Trump shot? So you're looking at this being Monday afternoon or Monday noonish when he was shot at Saturday night. So she has no idea, right? This doesn't knock her. I just want to show you the divide. So she didn't even know what happened. So the cashier says, yep, he was shot. She goes, did he survive? Now the photo clearly shows that he survived. Did he survive? And the cashier said yes. And she goes, of course he did, and stormed out. So imagine that you're so out of the loop that you did. So you're not watching any news, maybe not watching any TV, maybe not leaving your house, I guess. Not even knowing that happened, but then being so confident in your hatred for Trump that you were disappointed in some way. That is how divided we've become, and that's why the conspiracy theories and the hatred online, there's actually a piece here somewhere about that, why it's just getting worse and worse in the wake of the social media era. I think this might be the piece by Joe Borelli. I'm going to take a short break because we've got to anyway, and then I'll try to find that piece before we wrap up the program. Just a little time left together. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
I'm Marianne Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
What's up, guys? What I'm about to show you is going to change the way you shave your head forever.
You can shave your head in 90 seconds or less.
With no cuts or nicks. It's 100% waterproof.
It even works in the shower.
Introducing Remington's Balder Boss. With increased flex and 5 dual-track floating head design, get over 60% more head coverage for a faster, closer shave and skin-close results.
No nicks, no scrapes. Fit in the palm of my hand, and the results were amazing.
Shave in the shower or with any foam or gel. With Japanese-grade steel blades, plow through the thickest of hair. Anytime, anywhere. There's even a pop-up trimmer to complete your perfect groove. Now, you can try the Remington Balder Boss in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. Complete with a 5-year limited warranty and 100% satisfaction guarantee. You can also get our ear, nose, and brow trimmer free. Just pay separate processing and handling.
Give it a try. You won't be disappointed.
Order your Balder Boss.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking. comment from a viewer. I noticed Vance is being criticized as the VP pick because of his lack of experience and only a junior senator, while forgetting Obama was also a junior senator and ran for president. That's a great point. I mentioned that earlier in the program. They're ignoring the fact that Obama was in his first term when he ran for president. So that's a very good point. How about this? Here's a nice comment. Frank, your show today was national news great. In my opinion, much better. You're resonating with common sense and balanced commentary. Very glad you're on WYDC. I am very glad I'm on WYDC TV as well. I know, in full disclosure, I don't always like just bringing up the national stuff, but how do you not? This whole week's going to be pretty close to national topics. But I think we're doing a good job on today's show, and I appreciate it. But it's mostly because of the comments. It's all because of comments from the viewers. So this is from Kristen Fleming at the New York Post. And she said, on Saturday afternoon, Donald Trump pulled his latest rabbit out of a hat. He cheated death. As Washington Free Beacon editor Peter Hazen noted on X, Teflon Don has outlasted 2 impeachments. Think about this. 2 impeachments, 4 indictments, and with his fist defiantly raised in the air and blood running down his cheek, bested a would-be assassin. The former president, quite literally, dodged a bullet. But so did our great country. With one fateful turn of Trump's head, Americans were collectively saved from unimaginable chaos. Yet some saw it differently and weren't shy about their bloodthirst. The list of Trump derangement syndrome sufferers taking to social media to express regret over the botched hit has been long and diverse. It's included a staffer for a Democrat congressman, a Morgan State professor, a non-binary middle school teacher, and even a firefighter in Pennsylvania who wrote on Facebook, "Too bad it didn't hit him square," alongside a popcorn box emoji. Apparently lost on him was the fact that Corey, I've heard his name pronounced so many times, and I feel so bad that I cannot remember how to say it. Camperator, a fellow smoke eater, was taken out instead. A New York City nurse said the gunman needed to, quote, work on your skills. At a concert in Sydney, Australia, not even on American soil, Tenacious D, the band fronted by actors Jack Black and Kyle Gass, was uniquely disgusting. On stage, Jack Black, the actor, and in this case a singer, who gave a speech at the recent George Clooney-fronted LA fundraiser for Joe Biden, saying happy birthday to his bandmate and told him to make a wish. Without missing a beat, Gass said to the audience, "Don't miss Trump next time." So much for the compassionate left. And that's what's one of the hardest parts of all of this. Toughest pill to swallow, that we get lectured by these people about love Trump hates. Love Trump's hate. And that you have to be more kind and open-minded like they are. Yesterday, this is, again, Kristen Fleming, a friend of mine even expressed it to me without an ounce of shame. It's terrible that he missed. No, quite the opposite, I said. We should be grateful. For one thing, how inhumane and grotesque is it to wish for anyone's murder? And if the gunman had succeeded, we'd be in a very different America right now. Taking out Trump would have opened a Pandora's box, a portal to a political hellscape, and a cascade of real-world consequences reverberating around the globe. The already tenuous ties, holding our society together would be ripped apart. Violence, anger, and an insatiable appetite for revenge would have led to a place so dark and twisted, I'd rather not visit even the hypothetical. Who remembers the violent excesses of the fiery but mostly peaceful summer of 2020, which left cities across the country lawless and burned out? They also left innocent people dead. And then there was a turmoil of January 6th, she writes. Both events shameful, and a repeat of either would be catastrophic in an election year. It would lead to volatility in the stock market and disrupt the economy. Our foreign enemies, clocking our ever-growing weakness and division, would be licking their chops. Also, a family would lose their father, husband, and grandfather. What did these creeps really want? To see Trump's head blown off on stage in front of men, women, and children? With the scene played over and over online like a snuff film? It's nihilistic, it's grim, and it's selfish and short-sighted, because it would not have ended well for any of us, regardless of which political jersey we wear. Funnily enough, I don't see these people posting the gunman's image on social media like a fallen foot soldier. It's human to disagree with someone. It's also possible to be highly critical of a politician and their policies, actions, and moral code, or lack thereof, and not wish them a bloody and public death. As Americans, we should want fair elections. A candidate should be taken out at the ballot box by bad ideas and ineffective leadership, not by a sharp metal projectile fired by a depraved gunman. That is not justice. That's a hallmark of a third world country. And yet I have faith. There are many civilized Democrats who grasp the gravity of the situation. They say near-death experience gives one a new lease on life. Fresh from the dramatic moment, Trump said he's rewriting his Republican National Convention speech to preach unity. Perhaps that renewed spirit will ring true for all of our citizens. The USA needs some healing. I thought that was a powerful message from Kristen Fleming. We got to take our last break. Stay with us. Wrapping things up here on Frankly Speaking. Wow, time goes fast. Stay with us.
Put confidence, adventure, and accomplishment firmly in your hands with the Polaris Sportsman lineup. Get the most out of every day. Pull off the toughest hauls and keep charging on.
Ithaca Recreation Sports, Route 13 in Newfield. Get outside and ride.
The best pizza has been baked in ovens made of stone, but you can't put one of those on the countertop in your home. Introducing Paisano, the authentic pizza oven by Granite Stone. Now make the world's most delicious pizza with real stone right in your own home. You simply set it and let it make golden, crispy, extra cheesy stone-baked pies in under 6 minutes. The secret is the dual-controlled heat zones that quickly heat the real ceramic stone up to 800 degrees so you can stone bake just like the pros. Plus, there's no gas, wood, or charcoal needed. Paisano is electric, plug-in, and portable. You can get your Paisano pizza oven for just 4 easy payments of $39.99. And we're going to drop one payment. You get it all for just 3 easy payments of $39.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free.
Call 1-800-597-7208 or order online at buypaisano.com. Call now.
In a game of few words, Urkel, glasses, nerd. It pays to know your nerds. If you guys didn't get nerd with me sitting up here on this show, 25 words or less.
Weeknights at 5 and 5:30.
And we are back, wrapping up today's edition of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I am your host, Frank Hakam. A comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. Good morning. I'm still without power, so I can't watch and weigh in. And with so much to say, count your blessings. Thank you. I'm sure they would have been very interesting things that you would have said. I'm sure there's a lot without power. What a mess last night. There is a piece, we don't have time to get to it. Dan Bongino writes that as a former Secret Service agent, he is shocked by the level of failure in the Trump shooting. You can find that for yourself at the New York Post. We just won't have time to get to it. There's a CNN article, Conspiracy Theories Spread Widely After the First Assassination Attempt on a U.S. President in the Social Media Age. Yeah, many on the left calling it staged. I mean, quote, it's a little weird that this is America and shooters don't miss unless they are hired to. That was liked by more than 1.2 million times. To bolster the staged conspiracy theory, an image began to circulate that had been altered to make it look like one of the Secret Service agents who rushed to Trump's aid was smiling. It is unbelievable. There's so many other comments coming in. I don't think I have time to get to them. Joe Borelli, the city council minority leader in New York City, said Trump's shooting was a wake-up call. We must let go of political hate. Well, we've got to tamp down the rhetoric, but we're not seeing it. Even with that interview yesterday with Lester Holt by the president of the United States. We have to fight for this democracy. We'll see who wins in November, but we should all fight to preserve our democracy, says Joe Borelli. Stephen Collinson says that the GOP sees divine intervention in Trump's triumphant return. The searing picture of a nation in dystopian decline that defines the ex-president's politics was largely missing on the first night of the RNC. In its place was a sense of the divine, a pulsating belief in miracles among thousands of Republican delegates, and a feeling that God spared their hero after he was nearly killed in an assassination attempt in Pennsylvania on Saturday. Not being said there a little bit condescending, isn't it? Here's something interesting. Yeah, I'm out of time. Stephen Nelson writes a piece. Secret Service Director Kim Cheadle landed the job after a push by Jill Biden's office, is what the reports and the sources are saying. Now, private efforts to nudge Biden out of the race continue, even though you may not have heard a lot about it. But this Democrat predicted that approach would change if the polling and other data after the GOP convention showed the president's standing deteriorating more. Bob Costas, of all people, sportscaster, who cares, renews calls for Biden to step down in serious decline. The new calculus for Democrats and donors is Trump unbeatable. Douglas Schoen says only an October surprise can swing the presidential election. We are out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to everyone who wrote in. I'm sorry I got distracted. Make sure you join us tomorrow morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV. Big Fox, we will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. I look forward to it already.
The Oak Ridge Boys American-made farewell tour. Celebrating 50-plus years of touring. The legendary Oak Ridge Boys. August 1st, the Chemung County Fair. Reserve seats on sale now at ChemungCountyFair.com or the Fair box office.